So in Tuesday's lesson, we learned what a reaction mechanism is. We also learned the processes by which, or the things which reminded ourselves about the factors that affect the rate of a reaction. So today our deal is going to be reaction profiles and mechanisms, so we'll start with that. Okay. So when we talk about reaction profiles, we also sometimes call them reaction coordinate diagrams. Okay, these are graphical relationships showing the energy of reactants, products, as well as activation energy. And you've already been exposed to these a little bit in some of the test questions from previous units, even though we didn't really deal with the activation energy portion of it. Okay, so consider this process, which we've used earlier in this unit, of methyl isonitrile turning into acetonitrile. And what we're going to imagine is that during the reaction, we need to have collisions cross strong enough to break the bond between the nitrogen and the carbon, flip some atoms around so that the carbon comes to the other side, and then reconnect. Okay, so we're going to then imagine that a state halfway along the reaction pathway, which we're going to call the transition state. Okay, so somewhere between breaking that bond and remaking that bond, we're going to have a situation where the molecules are in this orientation or something that we could imagine like that. Well, if that's the case, then we can create a graph of the process. Okay, so here's our initial reactant. Okay, and as this thing goes into a collision, the molecule is going to bend, and then this bond is going to break. And at that moment, we have a high point in terms of energy, because that energy from the collision has caused this thing to break, and we've added some energy into the system. So that whatever that is, wherever that happens at that top spot, we call that the transition state. Okay, the species, whatever this actual thing is called the activated complex. So the activated complex forms at the transition state. Okay. So then, after that happens, the bond is reforming, the energy comes down, and once that bond has reformed in its best and lowest energy orientation, there is our product. Okay, the energy gap between the reactants and the activated complex, or the transition state, is known as the activation energy barrier, which again, as we learned yesterday, that's what we need to overcome in order to make a reaction move forward in a spontaneous fashion. So this then is an example of a reaction coordinate diagram. It shows us the energy of the reactants, the energy of the products, as well as the energy of the transition state and the activation energy that's needed to make that reaction happen, and the enthalpy of the reaction that occurs between the reaction and the products. All right, so now this moves us into the idea of reaction mechanisms. Okay, we imagine the following process for the conversion of methyl isonitrile to acetonitrile. Okay, so here's what we got. That's what we imagined it to be. And then the question is that what really happens, or is there something else that occurs along the way? And what answers that question for us is the reaction mechanism. Okay, the reaction mechanism is the sequence of events that describes the actual process by which reactants become products. At the most detailed level, it can include the order of bond breaking as well as orientations of a molecule during a reaction. So with additional data and things like that, you can come up with some very, very detailed reaction mechanisms that tell you exactly what are the orders that the bonds break, what are the orders that bonds are made, what are the transition states, how do the particles collide in order to make this happen, etc. Okay? Kinetics is the first step in helping us determine what mechanisms there might be. When we talk about reaction mechanisms, we refer to the steps of the mechanism. By definition, we say that elementary reactions are reactions that occur in one step. So if I have a single reactant in an elementary reaction, we refer to this as unimolecular. We have substance A, and it goes to some products. If we have two reactants in an elementary reaction, we refer to this as bimolecular. Okay, so two of A's coming together or A coming together with something of B, that's great. If there are three reactants in an elementary reaction, we refer to this as termolecular. This is extremely rare. Why? Well, remember that as yesterday when we talked about reaction and collision theory, reactants have to collide with each other in order to be able to make a reaction happen. So if something is termolecular, what that requires is three different molecules to all collide together at the exact same time to produce the products. Okay? Now you can imagine having three molecules all hitting together at the exact same time requires a lot more coordination, and is a lot less likely to happen than just two molecules hopping together. Okay, two molecules hopping together. So termolecular is very rare because the likelihood of three atoms or three molecules all hitting together at the same time is very, very rare, is not likely to happen. And if we have four or more reactants in an elementary reaction, because elementary reactions are assumed to occur in one step, that's extremely rare, almost never exists. Again, why? Because just like getting three atoms or molecules to collide together at the exact same time in the right orientation would be pretty rare. To get four of them to do that, nearly impossible. Okay? All right, so quick question for you down the bottom. Here are some particle diagrams looking at what the reactants are and what the products are and everything else. What's the molecularity of each of those? Should be easy. All right, so in order to figure this out, you just simply look at how many reactants do you have in the elementary reaction. We know these are elementary reactions because they happen in one step. There's only one transition state in between them. There's not multiple. So two reactants, this would make this bimolecular. One reactant, that would make this unimolecular. Three reactants, this would make that termolecular. This would make it, All right, so most reactions actually are multi-step reactions. They occur in more than one step. They are made of a series of elementary reactions. Okay, so for example, here is an overall reaction. Nitrogen dioxide plus carbon monoxide goes to nitrogen monoxide and carbon dioxide. Okay, so through study, we can find out that this actually happens through two elementary reaction steps. The first one is bimolecular, where we have a NO2 molecule and another NO2 molecule colliding together to make NO3 plus NO. Okay, so that's the first step. Second step then, we take that NO3 from the first step, we add it to carbon monoxide, and on the opposite side, we get NO2 plus CO2. Okay, so you'll notice that all of the NO2 that gets used up in the reaction, or that is produced in the reaction, gets used up in step 2. One of the NO2s that gets used in step 1 gets recreated in step 2. And so as a result of that, those kind of cancel each other out, and so you end up with the reaction of NO2 plus CO goes to NO plus CO2, even though it happened in 2 steps. Okay. So when we have a multi-step reaction, again, they're made of a series of elementary reactions, and the species present in between the step are called intermediates. Okay, so this leads to reaction profiles that have multiple activation energies. So here we go. We would have a reactant state, okay, and then we have a transition state. Okay, so this is whatever is happening in between the reactants and the products there. Okay, then we have our intermediate. Our intermediate would be that. Okay, specifically the NO3. Okay, then we would have another transition state, so a second activation energy right there. That's occurring in between that reactant and product. And then ultimately at the end, we have the energy of our products, okay? So multiple activation energies to get you to transition states, intermediates, which are consumed or appear at the end of the first step and go away at the beginning of the second step, and then products at the end. And then, of course, at the end of it all, we have our enthalpy, which is the difference between the energy of our reactants and our products.